Welcome to the Pixel Retentive podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Cassandra O'Brien of Chiz6, Alec Crocus, author and illustrator of Talking to My Father's Ghost, and Aaron Steinke, author and illustrator of Mr. Wolf's Class. I am forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast, and we are always looking for more sponsors. That said, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a team of artists and strategists who craft entertainment quality animation and illustration that grabs attention and gets results. With clients like Nickelodeon, WWE, and Sci-Fi, we know how to speak to pop culture savvy audiences. Visit getepicmade.com and let's collaborate on your next creative campaign. All right, so with us today we have Nico Fara. Welcome to the show, Nico.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited that you're here. We recently did your show together on LinkedIn, so if you guys are listening to this, make sure you circle back and check out Nico's show as well. So Nico is a product leader, strategist, marketer, and engineer with a robust global network of over 16,000 professionals spanning technology, retail, entertainment, and the creator industry. With deep expertise in product strategy and storytelling, Nico has successfully built and led innovative ventures leveraging cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence, extended reality, and gaming to solve complex retail and consumer experience challenges. Her entrepreneurial journey has empowered brands to enhance customer engagement, optimize operations, and deliver transformative experiences. All right, that's pretty impressive there. I'd love to dive into some of that a little bit too. So, hey, I think the audience would love to know a little more about you. So how long have you been in your industry, and what project are you most proud of in that list of amazing things that you've done here?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have been in the industry for over 10 years, but more specifically in the XR gaming space, I would say past 6-7 years. In terms of what I'm most proud of, and believe it or not, is community building. And I think we're going to talk more about this today. It has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I had, and I wasn't expecting that going into it. It kind of organically happened, creating and leading it. But then, looking back, nothing was as rewarding as building community where I was all focused about empowering others, which is kind of my vision and mission in life as well.
Well, I love that. Yeah, and I will say that there's been nothing more impactful on the growth and development of my career in business than community building, both being a part of communities, starting communities, helping uplift communities. It really is like the essence of like the best of humanity, I think. So I love that answer. That's fantastic. So yeah, let's jump into it a little bit. So today we're going to talk about building communities and relationships. What are some of your best practices, your high level things, like the first things you think about when you start talking about community and relationships?
So I think what we often forget is that, like, especially for brands, like number of followers seems like, oh, I have a community, but that is really not true because you're just broadcasting to them. The real community is that two-way conversation, and even, three-way conversation. Like, we want people to talk among themselves and, be proactively doing things, even when we're not in the room or in the conversation. And for me, this started when I founded the Fashion DAO. And it continued into different experiences. I was part of International Game Developer Association, and now I'm part of a huge AI community, which I can't disclose now. But by the time this airs out, you guys probably know what that company is. But the first step is for me to get a pulse of what the community wants and why they're here. And like with this new organization that I'm part of, the organization is not new. I'm new to it. But the first thing that I'm doing is a comprehensive survey and one-on-one meetings with the top contributors. Because, even though the leaders have some ideas of like what the community should do or what they want, I keep going to the meetings and saying, what is the real data? Where are the actual voices? And we realize we just haven't done it to this level. And that's what I'm working on. And I highly recommend everyone to kind of like tune to the actual voice of your audience.
I think that's huge. There's a couple things you said there. I mean, firstly, like as leaders and founders, oftentimes we're making lots of decisions and assumptions based on partial information. And when you do that in the space of community building, it can be really terrible, actually, even though it's a great skill for, business and a lot of things in that nature on some sides. Leaning too far into intuition can really ostracize people, especially like maybe the lesser represented members of your communities, whatever that may be in your particular community. And you said something about, just numbers of followers, and people think like, oh, I've got a big reach or whatever. Like those numbers are often just vanity, right? And when you see someone with like 16, 20, 30,000 followers and they've got 10 likes and no comments on their posts, it's like they probably bought those followers. So like that's not really a community. That's just some numbers on a thing to make somebody feel good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Amber and I are both entrepreneurs. So even in the traditional brand building or business building, and the idea of customer discovery, talking to your customer, talking to your audience is kind of similar. You still wanted to kind of understand if is your assumption or hypothesis aligned with what your audience, wants and needs. So now you can expand that into a community where their needs are higher priority than even the business goals that we have.
awesome. So what was like the first really awesome community that you joined that like helped you in business that made you really realize maybe there's something here about this community thing?
I mean, I think the wave of Web3 was kind of an interesting time for me because as an entrepreneur before that, I was very isolated. I left corporate, started building businesses, and then I was just interacting on a daily basis with a few like-minded people that we were working together. But I didn't have a support system. I didn't have this kind of bouncing ideas or learning stuff or empathizing with the difficulties that we're all going through. And when, Web3 boom happened, the most attractive thing to me was that community element. And I joined different organizations and different DAOs. And, then I kind of found this gap in the markets where, digital fashion designers were missing a support system, and kind of I started a conversation and that show, and kind of organically built this organization together. But yeah, it was combination of several different exposures, which then led to me also wanting to found one.
Yeah, I love that. I had a similar experience in that, like, I went out on my own. I quit my job in 2007, the first day of my honeymoon, actually. So I was like, we're going to do this, babe. And she's like, could I got on health insurance for like a month? That'd have been great. But, she trusted me and we went for it. And we were dirt poor for like 15 years, but that's neither here nor there. But the first community I joined where I really was like, okay, this I get. It was something called BNI. It's like Business Networking International, and that was the first time I was like, oh, let me get in this group of other people who are also entrepreneurs or some fashion of like a solopreneur of some sort. And yeah, it was really interesting for me to see that. And then I realized over the years as I joined other organizations and trade organizations, like I'm the Eastern Regional Rep for the Graphic Artists Guild now, which is the national trade organization for creatives, and that's been huge and opens doors, and it also shows people that you really care about your craft, right? When you're like in it and you're having conversations and you're out there putting your face in front of things, so it does build a lot of like real credibility. People trust you more because like you're clearly putting yourself out there more. But then, like you said, the Web3 community, I think was the first one was like, man, these people are nuts, but like they're my kind of nuts. Like we're all out here just trying to like make something cool, and like everybody's excited about everybody's ideas. And there was so much just innovation and just people that are just purely excited whether there was money in their project or not, like they wanted to talk to you about it and share. And like, there's just something like magical there in those types of communities. And even like the less structured ones, right? Like that was just like the Web3 is still so niche that like when you meet another person who's also into it, like you're instantly in this community, right? There's no like formal, like you sign up and pay dues, like because it's so unique still that it's just very tight knit, and I love that about it. It's one of my favorite things. So just the community building aspect of this, and I realized like I spent a lot of money over the years trying to market and brand and do all these things for my business, and really the thing that moves the needle more than anything else is just being in the right communities. Like, do people in the space that you service best know you, like you, think you're there for the right reasons, and want to do business with you? Like, they're going to do business with you. Like, no amount of advertising and paid ads and all that sort of stuff can do better than that. And that's where you get like those third conversations, right? Like those, hey, like that's how we met, right? Like we met through our mutual friend Ian. It was like, oh, Ian was like, oh, you guys got to be on each other's shows. Like, you guys would love each other. Like, let's do this. And then so we all just start chatting. I just think that's super cool. So I love that part of it.
Yeah, the word of mouth is the best awareness building solution because we all want to get information and direction from people who we trust. And if we actually build a community, strengthen our relationships, then we can actually, get more of this. And it might not be the priority reason we're doing this for, but it is one of the, outcomes.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so what would you say is like the best? Is there some type of like, so obviously we talked about like formal and informal communities, like, hey, I identify as part of this community versus like I signed up and was accepted into this and have a paid membership. Like those are all different types of community. In terms of the more structured ones, what are some of the best ones you've seen and maybe some of the best practices within that you think actually help build community?
Yeah, I think what I realized is the crucial part is having some sort of incentivization system. And that varies depending on who your audience is, who you have in your organization. Like, for example, in Web3, a lot of people are more motivated by money. So their expectation was, that payments or being, rewarded coins or, all of those. But then you might have a different organization that the incentive is more of like badges of, contribution. So depending on what your audience is, you can define that incentive. And that's what I'm doing in this new organization. But that incentive part is something crucial. Because, in the traditional businesses, we would pay people to do things. But now community, yes, there is our emotional attachment and wanting to be part of something. But also we are human and everything we do is kind of gamified and incentivized, even our bodies. So as leaders or founders of a community, we need to keep that in mind. The other thing that I noticed in some communities that were done wrong was lack of foundation. If you don't know where the North Star is, or if you don't know what the vision, mission, values of an organizations are, or there's no structure of growth, then people kind of lose motivation. Yes, they become excited and they see something that attracts them, but if you don't put those structures in place, you're going to lose a lot of that momentum that is really hard to rebuild.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And that was one of my follow-up questions was like the incentivization system has to align with the values, right? Like it has to make sure that like it reinforces the reason why people are here in the first place. Like you said, a lot of the Web3 space, like people are interested in money or making money. But I think in some other spaces, they're really interested in like the idea of a decentralized innovation, right? So like, that's why DAOs are really popular because people can like control who has what say because they now have either some sort of token that allows them to participate in the DAO. And if you don't know what a DAO is, that's a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's essentially a governance system in blockchain that is, set up by the founders to allow a lot of automation and a lot of ways that are decisions can be made and funds can be distributed and things can be changed within the system, but it's all done through smart contracts and through programming, which is really powerful, right? So if you're thinking about like if you had a DAO applied to any type of organization from an entire government to just like a group of people, it allows for so much transparency and true democratization, depending on how the distribution of the voting tokens, I guess. I don't. What, is there a word for that I'm losing?
Yeah, I mean, the governance is structure, but I think all of this also depends. DAOs like corporations vary significantly depending on how you structure them.
Yeah.
And so if, the voting system is allowing anyone to contribute and, like have a saying to the same level, it's different from like a type of organization when prioritizes the monetary contributions that I've seen a lot in Web3. And
Yeah.
so like we can't always like generalize and say all of them are great or all of them are doing the right thing for democratization. But so yeah, I just want to put that warning there that do your own research. We can't generalize that they're all doing the great things, but it's a mechanism that if done right, if you used it right, then you can see great results.
Yeah, it's like a tool, right? Anything, you put a tool in the right hands with the right people with the right motivations, and they'll do good. And then it could be the full on opposite of that as well. Uh, so yeah, that's definitely important to know. What are some cool things you're seeing coming out now? Like, are there new things in the community building space? Maybe in Web3, but maybe something else that I'm not aware of that you think are really adding to community building?
I think with the, emergence of AI, we have an opportunity to do that automation a lot easier. And, also like, free up the leaders and contributors to like do more of what they're good at. And that wasn't really possible when I founded the Fashion DAO back in 2021. And so that's very promising. In terms of, other aspects of how these communities are shifting, I think overall people are having a lot more options because every brand is realizing that, community is such a crucial thing. So yeah, it's really depending on what your focus are, what your interest is.
Okay, I like it. Are there any communities that you want to shout out that maybe deserve a little love because you just see that they're crushing it right now?
Cool. So the question is, what is the community that I want to give a shout out to? Um, Honestly, I wouldn't want to talk about a specific one because, like the one that I'm part of, I would think it would be a great one, and you guys are gonna find out soon. But overall, I think, like for example, in the beauty industry, we have a huge community as well. And we have gaming industry, they have a huge community as well. I think a lot of traditional industries have community elements too, but then certain brands and certain industries are just waking up to it. And I think that's something for us to kind of think through. It's that, gaming has been a community way before anyone, realized the importance of community. What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, so I love that. I started gaming a lot when I was a kid, like MMORPGs and a 56K dial up, like on a computer I built with scrap parts from Newegg, and like, I was in it, right? And yeah, that was some of the first time I really started to like make bonds with human beings all over the planet that I didn't even know. And I feel like I'm pretty sure I'm the first generation to do that, right? Like that wasn't possible for the internet. Like, so like that, like that was an exciting thing. And now, I haven't been able to keep in touch. Well, that's not true. Like a few of the people that I brought into those games, like EverQuest was the one I played a lot of. Like we're still friends to this day. Like, and it's pretty amazing to see all the different directions everyone's gone. And one of my buddies is like a super SEO guru and like made a huge name for himself on the way up in that. And now he's huge into crypto, and he was He was part of the IPO of Coinbase, and like so, like it's just it's cool to see all the things that happen, and you build communities early on, and then you never know what direction everyone grows and goes. But like if the relationships are real and you really actually genuinely care about these other human beings, you always, if you're a good person, you try to lift each other up, right? Like that's what it's about. And so that like you can't get through this by yourself. You can't be, there's no such thing as a self-made, independent, whatever. Like it's always a community.
Yes, and to that point about, people moving from gaming to Web3 and beyond, I've noticed like the relationships I built in, gaming, a lot of those folks are also active on XR. A lot of them are active on AI. A lot of them are active in, gaming. It's kind of like if you are part of this bubble of exciting, creative technologists, they are always like moving with these waves of technology. And so, like I think LinkedIn is a great place for us to, talk about as well. Like often we think that virtual relationships don't really make sense, but I have built real great relationships, on LinkedIn, and a lot of these folks are constantly evolving, constantly building new things on these different emerging tech sides of things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've only ever done this call and then LinkedIn chat. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a huge testament to that. And I love that. I think, for people like myself and probably you as well, who have been in technology and been into gaming, we were very comfortable building relationships in a digital space and online and through, different types of digital interactions. But after COVID, everybody got comfortable with it, right? Well, we were all locked down across the whole world for, I don't know, 2 years, three, I don't know how long. Some people never locked down. They're like, yeah, whatever, I'm good. It's like I don't think we really left the house for like 2 years over here, but it got everyone really comfortable just making relationships online, building those relationships, and really like having meaningful interactions with other human beings that they would have never been that open and that real with if they had another avenue. And now, like, I just think the whole world is more comfortable with digital communities, and I think it's great. Like because now, as crypto boomed through all that, and when the Web3 community and NFTs boom, you started seeing lots of communities build across the globe. Across language barriers, across countries, across different governing styles of countries, and like all these like crazy things that like I never saw people come together around the technology and ideas like they've done in the Web3 space, which I just love. And I love that it gives like this idea of financial sovereignty. Like, so we make this community and now we can make our own coin for our community, and we can decide what that value is, and then we can then build that up and put it on a decentralized exchange. And next thing you know, like there's like a whole thing happening that is just about our community. And that's crazy powerful. So
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, very exciting stuff. And I was an extrovert and all about like physical connections before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, not having a choice, I had to become more of an introvert and get into this different types of social interactions. And Clubhouse, and then Twitter and all those places, we started developing these relationships and getting to know people that are far, far away, and call them, very close friends. To this date, I have some of my closest friends that I've never met them in person. And so it is, as weird as it is true. And I'm sure it will be more in the younger generation. I mean, you have kids, you know how they are.
Yeah, I mean, my son plays a lot of VR and is definitely like loves the online gaming space. And I'd say like all but like two or three of his best friends are digital friends he's never met. Some of them he doesn't even know where they live. Like their parents have rules that like you can't tell people where we live. Like you can't even like they're like, yeah, I'm in this time zone, right? And that could be like the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, who knows, right? So it's it's really interesting. But yeah, I know that he cares about his friends and they care about him. They spend hours together hanging out almost every day, building virtual worlds and do. It's almost like that. What was that show with Leonardo DiCaprio, the Inception, right? Where they like the levels in deep and they built their own worlds together and all. It's the same kind of consciousness. It's really quite cool. I love it, and my son is so much more cultured and knowing of so many different things across the world than I ever was. In my whole life. Sorry, he just ran by, dude. I'm on a podcast, so it's funky.
Right.
It almost as if on cue, anyways. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a whole new way of interactions that we need to get used to it, and whether we have a business or community or whatever, we have to adopt to this type of new interactions.
Yeah, that's absolutely the thing. And companies need to be thinking about that, right? Like when I was growing up and we were just on the internet, and I may or may not have had Napster and LimeWire and these sort of things, as a child. But they have rooms now where they build these communities and they have little like hangout sessions, or they're not even playing a game. They're just in a virtual world. And I go on there and like there's the kid pulls up he's like, Dad, come here, right? So I have my own VR and we jump in. He's like, Dad, check this out. We go into this like virtual movie theater where him and all his friends hang out. And there's a console on the right, and it literally like has every show you could ever want to watch in the console in high definition, stuff that's still in the movie theaters. Like, yeah, what do you want to watch? And he puts it on, and then like we're just sitting in our living room with our VR goggles on, watching shows that like I don't even like. It just blows my mind. Like it's so disruptive. Like we have these huge corporations that have no idea how to even begin combating what the kids are doing here, and it's way more disruptive than Napster ever was, or than LimeWire, or us downloading some music. Like they don't even have to download it. Like they can access it on the fly, and it's just wild. So like all these things are happening, and all of these communities are being built in these spaces, and the next generation, to your point, is so dialed into this digital relationship building. It seems as natural to them as it did for you and I to meet the neighbor and become friends that way.
Totally.
What is the worst thing you've seen? You don't have to use any names or any nouns or any particulars, but like, what is some of the worst stuff you've seen done horribly wrong in community building?
I was part of one of the Web3 communities. I'm happy to name, but I'm not gonna ruin your show.
Sure.
But yeah, so that DAO actually made me learn a lot about what not to do. And one of the biggest problems I noticed was this lack of transparency and lack of accountability from the top level leaders. Sometimes people think decentralization means just chaotic disorganization, and that is not true. Absolutely not. You still have responsibilities as a founder. It's like, being a parent. You can't just give birth to the kid and say, okay, go run. Like that's not how it works. You have to nurture them. You have to set the foundation in place. And that specific community just didn't have that direction. They didn't know what they're doing. There was no clear vision. And a lot of things were not transparent, even though, a common ethos of Web3 is like, we need to be transparent and, we need to share everything. And I'm not saying you have to share everything, but you need to share enough for people to know what they're doing and what's the purpose and all that. So yeah, I mean, definitely even DAOs can be done wrong. And that's why, I always say people don't just buy into the idea, go and give it a try, test it for yourself and do your research.
Absolutely. So on research is a huge part of joining any organization, especially in Web3, but just in general. You don't want to associate yourself with a group of people that don't align with your, beliefs and values, right? And then, this day and age, especially in some parts of the world, there's definitely some communities that I don't want to be associated with, and we can just leave it at that. So what are some of the ways that you recommend doing research, and like what resources do you think people should be aware of in that on that side of things?
Yeah, I think it goes back to, first of all, value alignment. Like if your value is like, meeting friends. Like if you don't have aligned values with someone, you probably don't want to become friends with them. So similar with the organization. And that's why I say like organizations that don't have clear values that are just confusing and they're not going to be helpful. So checking if your values are aligned and then talking to some of the most active contributors or leaders of the organization and, kind of gauging if those are aligned with you, because those are the people that are defining where this organization or community going. Whether we like it or not, even if it's a decentralized organization, those founders or leaders' DNA is ingrained in the DNA of the community. And so, however they behave or they have a certain reputation is going to impact one way or the other on the community and the reputation of everyone involved. And so, do your research about the founders and the leaders of this organization. And, what are some of the recent, publicities that they receive? Is it in a good way or is it in a bad way? And so there are different angles. Like if you're, offered a job, we do our research about that. Or if you're offered funding, we do our research. So kind of like look at it similarly, because at the end of the day, it's all about the people that are involved.
100%. Yeah, that is the whole community, is the people, right, and how they set things up. Um, so you've built a fun little community on your show, the Emergence show, which I was a part of. How did you go about starting that, and like, how do you keep fueling that machine to keep going and creating all this content?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, I mean, I originally started it as I started the fashion DAO, and kind of organically we were just having conversations, and then we kind of like realized there needs to be more to be done and fill in the gaps, and slowly realized that it's not just fashion or Web3 that are exciting. That all emerging tech are great, and there's demands for it. So we kind of evolved into emerging tech and immersive experiences. And in terms of how I go about the community side of it, and I always look at it as adding value. So whoever I'm expecting to add value to me or my community, I should be adding value to them and their community and whatever effort they're doing. So when I hop on a call or, meet someone, my first question is like, after I get to know them, is like, how can I help? And I'm not expecting them to necessarily reciprocate. But, I'm just looking to see at the minimum what I can do is a couple of introductions to my network. We could be a lot more, like when I joined this organization, the AI organization that I'm part of now, it just started from a call and, just asking, how can I help? And that founder started, sharing some of the challenges. And I was like, yes, this is very aligned with what I've done in the past. And I see a lot of alignments in terms of our values and vision. And so these are all the things that I can offer. And then I slowly built up on that. But yeah, I've noticed like, when you just give without an expectation, it will come back to you and people recognize it. And yeah, it just makes those real relationships happening rather than just, a connection.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you talked about adding value. I mean, earlier we talked about like incentivizations and things of that nature, but really what it boils down to is, does the community add value, right? Do your relationships add value? Do they add value to you? Do you add value to them? So, you talked about making some introductions and not having expectations. Obviously, like giving free advice. I love to do that sort of stuff, and we have a similar, I would say, ethos on that. Like, I'm just always trying to help people, and I want to make sure that I add value in some fashion, whatever that is, to every interaction I have. Just because I literally want to leave the world a better place than I found it, even if that's like someone just smiled like when they weren't going to otherwise, right? Like I don't care what it is. I'm just happy to be alive and share that with people. And I have lots of connections and experience, and I'm always looking to like just impart that on people if they need it or if it's helpful. So, like, are there any things that you like to do, like, other than make connections that you think are really great for community building and adding value?
Yeah, and I think because of the depth of experiences that I had throughout my entrepreneurial journey, I often give the type of unconventional feedback or advice.
Mhm.
Like for example, to our common friend Ian, I meet with him every now and then, and we talk about his great company, Sneaker, and he calls it tough love, but I'm just like, giving the tough directions and suggestions that I probably think no one else is gonna give him. And he may not like it at that moment. His face doesn't seem like he likes it. But then he comes back and appreciates it. And I can see like he has incorporated some of that into his work, especially on the marketing side and stuff. So that's kind of like I don't know, good or bad, my type of kind of offering value to a lot of entrepreneurs. I say things that came out of real hands-on experience and pain and challenges that I went through. And I don't want them to like not at least hear it. Yes, they can go and make their own mistakes. No problem with that. But at least I think it's the responsibility of me to like share what I went through, and hopefully, some people can benefit from it.
Yeah, a constructive criticism is absolutely amazing. And that tough love, that it's like we talked about earlier, like when you lead a community or when you're a parent to a child, like tough love is absolutely a show of respect and care and value. And like, hey, like if I didn't give a shit, I wouldn't say this to you, right? But
Yep.
because I do, and I'm authentic in who I am, and my experience has led me to need to tell you that X, Y, and Z is a terrible idea, and this is why, right? So, and that's really valuable because that's hard for some people to do, right? We live in such a people pleasing society in so many ways that
Mhm.
it can be very difficult, especially in the business world. We don't want to offend anybody, or you don't want to do this because like if you say the wrong thing, then that might. But like if you're coming from a place of concern and like actually really trying to impart like value, like we said, where it's like, hey, this is how I see it. Take it with a grain of salt, but like take a look at it because I wouldn't say it to you if it didn't resonate with me and my past experience here. So I love that you brought that up. That's another amazing way to add value. Um,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
also like in terms of like I'm also a consultant, and I have encountered several companies where when I share like a bit of feedback and it doesn't seem as pleasing to them, they never want to talk to me again. And that's fine. That just tells me they're not open to improve, or they're not looking to improve or like better themselves. And I think that's also a test. Like, are these the type of people that I want to invest my time and energy? Yes, there's an exchange of monetary, but I need to feel good about what I'm doing, even as a consultant. And a lot of times, I know other consultants that are okay with, just say things that people want to hear and feel good about themselves, and, just like be more like a coach that just is supporting you no matter what. And I don't think that's necessarily very helpful in the entrepreneurship journey, because if you don't know the truth of your path, you're gonna fail, like easily fail. And yeah, so I think the tough love, or like having more clear about, your advice is much more valuable. Even people don't recognize it.
Yeah, I love what you said there too. The underlying thing is like, you need to be yourself and communicate your values and the way that you see things. And if someone doesn't agree with that or that offends them, and you're not out there trying to be an asshole, like you're trying to be real and authentic, then and if that doesn't resonate with them, then it wasn't going to be a good fit. That maybe not even to be your friend, maybe not to be, who knows, right? Like whatever that relationship, you're gauging, whatever, I don't know what this, hypothetical interaction is, but at the end of the day, like on a business side, like if they're not going to listen to your ideas or be offended when you bring ideas to the table, they don't value your input at all. So why are you even there? Like, what's the point? Like, keep it moving. Go find somewhere we can actually make an impact, right? And then when you make a big impact, there's more value there for everyone. And in the business world, that usually means money or some sort of monetary something, and that's better for everybody. So you definitely want to keep that moving for sure. I love that. Um, well, is there any other pieces of community building that you think are important that we did not touch on in this conversation?
Um, I think it's just making sure that everyone is aligned and people are having a good time. So, like beyond a certain mission that you may have, even if it's too technical or too serious, we shouldn't forget about that fun element. That's, I think, another thing we often forget. But it's a business or community, whatever organization we're building. I'm sure what the importance of fun is. And so, yeah, definitely recommend that.
100%. I make sure that we're always having fun. At least if we're not having fun, we know that this thing we're doing is going to lead to us having more fun later, and that it doesn't suck so bad that it's going to ruin the whole experience, right? Because like obviously can't always be having fun, but my brother's funny. He likes to philosophize a bit. His name's Aristotle, by the way, which is great. But he's got a little saying. He says, if you're not having fun, then guess what? You're not having fun. And then what's the point? Like, he delivers it with a little more punch, but I just think it's great. But yeah, so we are coming up on time here, so I would like to come up on our last question of the show. If you're familiar with the show, we always have the last question. But what is there anyone or anything in your career that you would like to shout out to the audience? Maybe a mentor, valuable resource, or a favorite client?
Um, There was a high school physics teacher that I had that truly changed how I think about everything. But I mean, along the way, I think like mentorship has changed significantly. We talked about how kids are in a different world and, we're interacting in different ways. But I've also noticed that mentorship has shifted. Previously, you would be attached to one person and that would be your mentor. But now you kind of have social media, you kind of have these, LinkedIn communities. And so you can have several mentors that you may not have ever met them in person, and you may not fully align to the whole person that they are. And so you kind of like I personally like learn a lot about a certain subject from this person, and then I appreciate this person to this extent, and so on. So I think the mentorship has already shifted as well. One person I can name that I've never met him in person, but I totally look up to him is Adam Grant. Like, I don't know if you guys know about him, but he's an amazing psychologist in the professional business side of things, and really great tweets and Instagram posts. And yeah, it has really helped me to kind of have more clarity, and I align with his perspectives. But yeah, I've never met him, and he probably never knew about me.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I love the idea that we live in such a interconnected world that you can sort of find the messages that resonate with you. Like, I've never met or even interacted with Gary Vee, but I remember early on, before I embraced colorful Carl as my, creative persona, I tried to maybe wear a little bit of a mask too much. Like I would not cuss, or I would kind of just change the way I speak. And now my business facing persona is the same Carl that you would experience on my back porch while we're having a drink, right? Like, I think that there's something amazing there, and you find the people that kind of unlock you, right? Because if it resonates with you, it's speaking to something in your mind, in your head, that you feel is real. That like, oh, okay, it's almost like they give you permission to be yourself, And I love that. That's really amazing. Thank you for saying that. And I want to give an official big thank you to Ian Harrison of Sneakr.io, who connected us with Nico. Ian is awesome, huge in the Web3 space, huge in the XR space, doing some really cool, really creative things. Very cool guy. And he was on the show probably somewhere in the last 10 episodes, I guess. So definitely look that up. That was a fun episode for sure. So
Yeah, he's full of energy, full of ideas, and full of innovation. So I definitely recommend checking out what he's working on.
100%. All right. So we've been talking with Nico. She is a business strategist and product marketer. You can check out her website at nicofara.com. That's NICOFARA.com. But if listeners want to follow up with you directly, where should they go?
LinkedIn is where you can find me, and you will see my picture in red and a mic in my hand.
I love it. I love it. All right, Nico. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, and we will see you all next time.
Well, thank you for having me. Bye.
We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive podcast.